welcome to this. Here at Angelini, we realise this is a time of great progress in care of epilepsy. And we thought it would be really important to try and speak with some of the key leaders in epilepsy research and epilepsy care, not just in Europe, but around the world. One of the things we'd like to do, and this is nothing to do with particular drugs, it's all to do with epilepsy research and epilepsy clinical care. And we have a series of interviews that we hope to have with some experts in the field, really to get their insight as to what has worked for them, what challenges still remain, and what hints and tips they can give towards junior researchers and aspiring researchers in neurology and in epilepsy care. To that end, it's a great pleasure to invite Dr. Vicente Villanueva. Professor Villanueva has been one of the leaders and at the forefront of moving research forward in the use of new medications in epilepsy. I think it's really important that when we have someone who's done so much great work, that they can give us an insight into what makes epilepsy attractive and what you can do to help your progress in that arena. Vicente, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me
to have you. No, it's a pleasure to have you here and giving up your time. I think one of the questions I'm really keen to ask our senior researchers is, why epilepsy? What got you involved in this area of clinical work?
Yeah, it's a very long story. I will try to be brief. I started neurology and I was okay, but was not feeling so well. But I asked for a rotation in epilepsy, and the first day I decided that I will be in this world, because I see that as a physician, as a neurologist, I could explore the patient with the video EEG. I could treat effectively the patient with medication, and I could operate on patient. And this was done by a neurologist. So after that, it was like the Bible that St. Paul's that was discovered the light was same for me. And I say, I am an epilepsy.
So am I hearing you saying it was the mixture of the science and the personal connection that you thought brought epilepsy above other areas of neurology?
Okay, I think neurology have a lot of interesting areas because it's the brain is very interesting, probably the most important part of the body. But I think that epilepsy made you the option to treat effectively patient. And it's something that I wanted to do, because in other areas of the neurology, in my humble opinion, this is not so effective sometimes. And I realized that in epilepsy I could do it. And there were a lot of options to diagnose, to treat. There was a part of the neurology that it's full of options for doing this. That was the reason I think, and that's the reason I think a young person that is a young neurologist should be focused in epilepsy.
I wonder, in terms of the personal effect of epilepsy, can I ask you a personal question? When was the first time you saw someone having a seizure? And what was the impact that had on you?
Okay, I was a student. Probably I was 20-year-old or something like that. I was in my summer holidays, and in a bar there was somebody that fell down and started having a convulsion. And I say, okay, I'm a physician, no worries. I approach the patient and introduce something in the mouth. So probably I was not very expert for sure, because I did everything wrong. But was the first time. It impacted me because seizures convey a lot of severity of this problem. And that was the first time I saw, and I spent a lot of time until the next time I saw a new seizure.
I often think it's one of the unusual things about epilepsy that physicians and students, their first experience is out with the workplace, and this speaks to how common it is.
Yes.
And how important it is that we get things right. Just out of interest, so when that happened in the bar, did it have an impact on other people in the bar? Was there a sense of panic? Was there a...
Absolutely, everybody was in panic. I was the most qualified person at that point, and then that approach. But yeah, it's sure. When a patient is having a convulsion, a generalized tonic-clonic seizure, everybody is in panic because it seems that it's a very bad situation that somebody is collapsing or so. So, yeah, was the same feeling that it happened nowadays when somebody start having...
Has that had an effect on how you would discuss with, say, a parent who's witnessed a seizure or a partner who's witnessed a seizure? Does that impact on the way you communicate the outcomes and likely effects?
Okay, I try. Nowadays, my mind has changed totally. And I try to... I say that you should be calm and you should do and so on. But sometimes it's very difficult. And the only way that people become not in panic or are not in panic is when they have seen a lot of seizures or they have a relative with seizures. Otherwise, still in panic.
One of the things that's, I think, clear in the last 20 years is how hard Spain has worked and how well Spain has done at pushing forward real evidence in the use of new medications. We've seen this since 2000. What is it about the Spanish experience that has allowed so much of the real-world evidence and on-the-ground evidence to come out? What hints would that give new researchers?
Okay, I think there are several things. First of all, our health system give us the option to prescribe the new medication. And second, because we created like a network of physicians that work together, all of us trying to collaborate and then to pull the data and start doing this research. And everybody feel quite happy to collaborate with that. At the end of the day, I think, in my humble opinion, that Spain is producing most real-world evidence than any other part of Europe. So I would say that these two are the main reason: our networking and the possibility to prescribe the new options.
And the thing about your networking is it's not just within hospitals or within regions. It's a national network.
Yes.
And everyone gets a chance to participate and everyone gets a benefit. And that's rare in other countries. That's very rare.
Yeah, I think that we get along quite well. That's good. Personal relationship is always important. And yeah, we created this network in the past and it's going very solid for future research. And we try to do it with all the new medications. So I hope this still continue to be working.
This is not a flippant comment, but do you think part of it is the language? That obviously you're unique in being the only main Spanish-speaking country in Europe. And do you think that's brought a cohesion towards the team?
Yeah, could be the way our personality, the Mediterranean people probably is this open mind people.
Having a nap in the afternoon, having a late dinner.
We have dinner very late and we have the opportunity to work during the day. So maybe.
But I think one of the things when people talk about epilepsy is how important teamwork is. But Spain takes that to a whole new level. And I think if I was speaking to young researchers, I would say if you can get a network that transcends a city or a region, then you're much higher chance of success in what you do. And hopefully that is something that other people can learn from. Can I ask, since you've become a consultant, what's been the biggest barrier to your research within epilepsy?
You know, I think that the main barriers are administrative always. This is the main issue but when you jump these obstacles, everything is easy because people are very collaborative. And if you have a team always working with the same team, it's very easy to produce new data. But I think that administrative barriers are the main issue.
And again, I think that's a really important lesson because junior researchers can see the 35-page grant application form or the ethics approval form and think, well, this is clearly not for me. But I think your point is here, you're playing a long game. You've got to look beyond the obstacles because it's worth it in the end.
Yes, and when you are doing this, you get more experience and then it's easier to do it and to go over these obstacles. And I think that in epilepsy, it's a very prevalent disease and it gives you the opportunity to produce data on a lot of patients. And I think that's very interesting for researchers. There are other neurological conditions that affect very few people it is important to do research, but epilepsy is a common disease, and then I think that deserves to be studied.
Do you have any regrets about your work in epilepsy? Is there anything that hangs that you wish you'd pursued further, or any other paths that you'd taken?
Yes, I think that I should have been a fellow for more than 3 years. That was in the past, because the time that when I was learning epilepsy was the most rich period of my life, in terms of I was learning every day, and this is the only regret, probably, to have spent maybe 1 more year at that point. But other than that, I'm very happy.
So, I mean, again, another lesson that sometimes you can be fixated on getting a job or a title or a job in a certain place, but actually making the most of where you are and what you're doing is really important.
Yes, I think that everything should be limited. You cannot be a fellow for... You cannot be a fellow for 10 years. But yeah, it deserves to do it well, to do it with the best people, or to try to find the best people to learn. And then I think it's a very rich period in terms of learning, in terms of knowing new experience. So I remember this part of my life as one of the best. So
obviously the regrets question's not a perfect one. What about opportunities in the world of epilepsy? If you had a research fellow and you were wanting to inspire them in epilepsy, what opportunities would you direct them towards?
Okay, there are a lot of opportunities nowadays. I think that in epilepsy we are expanding a lot of things. First of all, in terms of diagnosis, genetics is opening a new gate. And related to genetics are coming new treatments. And so I think the diversity of epilepsy, the possibility of non-medical treatment, all these should inspire people to be in epilepsy in a state of other neurological areas.
And I think that's an important message as well, a message of hope that for parents who are looking after children with very severe epilepsies, as with a lot of neurological conditions, the progress in the last 20 years has been good, but the progress in the next 20 or 30 years, I think, is going to be enormous. And we don't know what's round the corner, but the genetics, I think, will hold a major part of the key. Can I ask if there's anyone in particular been a major inspiration to you in your career?
Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay, my mentor, Dr. Serratosa, was my inspiration in my first year of the career. I have also other mentors like Dr. Kuzniecki in the States and other people, but I try to learn from everybody.
Yeah.
From my residents, from everybody. If you think that you are everything, you are totally lost, and epilepsy is very difficult, and you should be humble every day. But yeah.
I don't know if anyone in the audience has got any questions. I think one thing I would like to do, if you were going to summarise and give a word of advice or a phrase of advice to some of our young epilepsy section as they watch this, what would it be?
First of all, I will say that you are in the right way. Epilepsy is the best, the most interesting, is the window of the brain, because you can know how is working the brain in epilepsy. In other areas, maybe you see when the brain fails, but in epilepsy, you know the function of the brain, and you have the possibility to diagnose, to treat with different tools, and also to do research, and it's still open. So if I was a young neurologist, I would say stay in epilepsy for sure.
Okay. Well, Vicente, this has been fantastic. I'm sure there'll be lots of pearls here, and we'll be able to take a lot of that and help inspire our young researchers. And I'd like to thank you very much for that. I'm really like to show you.
Thank you.
Thank you.